They say that we are afraid to bring our authentic self to the table to show it to the world because we are afraid of rejection. That was really true in my case. Unfortunately, this coping mechanism went on into my adult life. It later transitioned to me always finding something to keep my mind off things. I avoided being alone with my thoughts. Ah, I hated thinking. Still do. Sometimes some moments can get dark in an instant when you're trying to think about stuff. So I watched a lot of movies and series and listened to music to disappear into another world. I preferred hanging out in loud and busy places and talking with friends to avoid being alone. All this happened until 2020, the famous 2020, the year when all things I was used to doing were not possible. Let me tell you what happened to me in the famous 2020. I had plans. I had just turned 30 in February. My birthday is on the 25th. And my now husband had just proposed to me on my birthday. The future seemed brighter than brighter. I was writing my master's thesis, and I had plans to spend the next 6 months in the library and meeting up with friends after my reading schedule. Well, God must have laughed so hard at my plans because the week following my birthday he introduced us to Auntie Rona. For those who don't know, that's Corona. The restrictions stopped us from social gatherings. Oh, I am an extrovert, so this was so hard. Suddenly, I was alone in my student's apartment with my thoughts. I cannot tell you how painful the first weeks were. At first, I had my phone to keep in contact with family and friends. This didn't really help much because I hated the messages that were being forwarded to me. But at least I kept up with everyone. One morning, I woke up and my phone battery was dead. I had to send my phone to the shop to get it fixed. It is in these few days when I finally had moments with my thoughts and feelings. It's like all the feelings I had dodged my whole life came to attack me. I found myself crying and looking for someone to blame for all the pain I was feeling. I couldn't call anyone. I don't think I wanted to, anyways. So I did what I knew best, what my mom and my grandma told me. I knelt down and cried to God and blamed him for the pain. It's always easier when you blame someone, but I guess God can take it. In that moment, I felt like he was telling me that he would use my pain and that everything that had happened to me was going to later be a blessing. This didn't make sense at first. Later, I decided to find someone's online to watch. I needed someone to speak life into my pain. One of the sermons I came across was a message from T.D. Jakes, which talked about Joseph's life. That's in the Old Testament, in Genesis. How he had to suffer, but eventually he ended up saving his nation. This started to feel like my confirmation that pain had a purpose. So I felt the need to pick up a book and start writing all the things that affected me and started to come up with solutions to how their impact could have been avoided. I have been doing this for 3 years. I call it my vision book. Okay, so in their transformative book, Oprah Winfrey and psychiatrist Dr. Bruce Perry underline the importance of asking individuals what happened to you rather than focusing on what's wrong with them. They argue that our personal history, the people and the places that shaped us, greatly influence our brain development, making us utterly unique. I learned 3 lessons from this book. One is that what we experience during childhood has a profound effect on our brain as an adult. The second is that we learn positive regulation strategies later in life to help us deal with trauma. And the third and last is it is possible to overcome trauma with the right support. That is a trauma-informed community. I find all this to be true. So I will briefly tell you what happened to me. This is the question I'm trying to answer. Now, since I call this a safe space, I will be vulnerable and tell you about some of the painful things that happened to me, leading to the moment I have described in 2020, the moment when I cried to God. And I felt all the pain that I've ever kept down. the moment when I knelt before God and felt my pain. This is the part in a Nigerian movie or in This Is Us where they say 30 years earlier. I will briefly talk about this experience.